so I'm recording now. I think everyone should know I'm not wearing a bra. I just said that to Carrie.
I cut that off on purpose, but if you just want to lay that out there, go ahead.
Everyone should know.
Sometimes that happens over here,
I'm wearing
too.
a sweatshirt, though. You can't even...
Can't tell.
You can't tell.
Silly girl.
And it's just going to be Voltaire in my body. I mean, I don't mind being braless for him.
That's right.
All right, let me get situated for him.
You got curls in your crazy pony today.
Oh, yeah, that's just how... I didn't even brush it. I just put it up.
Your ugly hair is gorgeous.
Yeah. You're all getting all fancy, and I just, like, hopped out of bed. Like...
I gotta put spackle on, man.
Okay. So, Volty, I got your water right here, just in case you get thirsty. There's dust in it now, so, you know, deal with that. And
mine too.
Hold on. I think
Talked to water last night.
Oh, yeah, I heard about that.
Very interesting. Give you some pointers later on.
And I'm not wearing a bra.
Right. Establish that.
And
Volty?
Yeah.
Do whatever you want with that.
He is very excited. But first, before I go, leave, we can talk about the event that we're doing.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm going to start this.
Okay.
Because how did that happen?
I don't know.
When I did my website, I swear to God, it took me like 5 weeks of intense computering. And I'm going to make a website for our event that we just invented 3 seconds ago.
It's like 4 hours later. Here you go.
God, it was crazy. So anyway, we're having this event. It came on so fast. Go, take over.
Well, I was always told, and you were told too, that we'd always end up doing an event together. And this was before Stardust was even created, so I had no idea what they were talking about. And then I created this group, and I don't know, it just sort of happened. I was kind of excited because I wanted to do it in person for people, and everyone's really interested in the Sarsar. And I want to take them to the area where they live at and show them everything. And I think making a whole sleepover about it, like about, making contacts with aliens. It's just going to be one big sleepover. It's not going to be super fancy or like serious at all. It's not a business trip or.
Listen, well, I joked that it's the pizza, beer, and aliens event, and we're crashing on this place that we found. It's just a meetup place. It looks like almost like a bachelory kind of place, and that it's mostly for beds.
Yeah, it's in the middle of buttfuck nowhere out in the desert, and I like it that way, but it's so far away from the Indian Springs, so I wasn't sure I wanted it there. But Sam was so adamant about it. He was just like, I really like it, and then I got pissed off at him because he kept pushing his opinion and was just like, I knew it wasn't me thinking that because sometimes I question my channeling. So I knew for sure it wasn't him because I strongly disliked this place. And he was over here like, oh, that's perfect for what we have in mind. And I'm like,
yeah,
what's we? So his people are trying to plan something with.
Can you believe that? The aliens are in cahoots with us with this event. And they want an isolated spot so they can do who knows what.
Yeah, this is a real isolated spot. I mean, it's not like it's impossible to find. Somebody earlier
Well, it was almost hard to find.
Yeah, someone found it. The guy, he told me the wrong directions. Like, he pointed out the wrong area. So it was across the other street or the other highway, not, it was on the opposite side. So no wonder I couldn't find it. But anyway.
And you guys, we put this thing out there, and within like 10 minutes, we sold spots like that. So if you went on this, sign up. Right. You got time though. It's not
also no refunds. There's no refunds. So if you can't make it for some reason last minute, sell your ticket to someone else, give it away, whatever you need to do. But we don't handle refunds. It's just, I don't want to sound bitchy. It's so hard to deal with.
Well, it's not only is it hard to deal with, but we're putting our money out there up front.
Yes.
And it's going to fuck with us if people start taking their money back.
Yeah.
We're putting deposits out that we can't get back. So it's just the way it is.
I didn't want to charge too much. And I felt guilty for even charging in the first place for the event because I felt like I don't want to make money off my alien husband and Voltaire's telling me to hurry up. But anyway,
Ooh. You can't wait to get at me.
Yeah, I know.
Or maybe it's the lack of bra. I'm not sure what's going on
I
there.
know, right? So make sure he doesn't do too much. Actually, I don't care what he does to
you
me.
can do it.
I have the
Encourage it.
hugest crush. If anyone doesn't know, I have the hugest crush on Voltaire. He's like, oh, I'm like a groupie. Anyway.
You're being a groupie. Okay. Okay. Goodbye, Heather. I want to talk to my friend.
All right. He's kind of like, scooch over, scooch over. She's sweaty.
She's in a sweatshirt. Hi, Volty.
Hello. How are you?
I missed you.
And I have missed you.
Yeah, you were so enthusiastic to come talk today. And I was like, well, why? And you said, because I'm going to talk to you. That made me so happy. That's so cute.
I don't have to have a specific message in mind. I just want to talk to you. That's all.
Isn't that sweet? Oh, I'm going to investigate that a little bit. I'm going to go through these questions, and I got some questions from Stardust, and then I'm going to pump you for some bean spilling, and we're going to talk some gossip and stories, and I want to get some scoops.
I want to cross my legs and just kind of sit like a gentleman, at least somewhat, as much as I can in a sweatshirt.
It's a rush sweatshirt, though. So
is that what makes it better? I don't know what that means.
We'll have Heather let you listen. We're both big Rush fans. Okay, so what's going on with you in the spirit world? Got anything going on right now?
Well, I am quite bothered by this young woman who seems to be obsessed with me.
Oh, really? Tell me all about it.
Well, you know who she is, and I'm in her body right now.
Why is she bothering you then?
I'm not bothered. I'm joking.
She is obsessed with you. She's not obsessed. She is so smitten that when you come in the room, I mean, she just changes. She turns into a giggly little schoolgirl teenager.
She does.
You do things to her.
I do lots of things.
I hear about some of those. You guys are so cute.
And just because I'm no longer in a physical body does not mean that I don't feel certain ways. I believe you two were talking about this the other day. Just because I'm not in a body doesn't mean I still don't feel not particularly lust anymore, because I don't have the physical body in order to have the blood flow.
Right.
But it's more of a deep-seated connection. It's more of an emotional type of attachment, and I feel that I need to it's through the emotional attachment as well as a spiritual attachment that causes you can call it the orgasm. And I sometimes like to have that feeling. It's not a want, because I can get it anytime I want, and spirits never want. But and Heather's always game. So,
I bet.
That's always fun. And if she isn't, if her incarnated self is not, I have the same relationship with her higher self as well.
Oh, okay. So you and Heine are a couple too then sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
How sweet. Does your higher self have a name? Or
no,
not really?
I don't choose. You can choose the name. But actually, our higher selves in general don't really have names. We pick names for you to be able to attach yourselves to it. You need to have a name to it, and some people don't need that. But most humans do.
I'm a labeler, but my problem with that is that now it feels separate to me. We have our own names, so we don't always feel the same. I sabotage myself a little bit, but it did help me feeling connected at the same time. Though there was a being, it wasn't just like a wisp of air or whatever. Okay, I'm gonna get started on these questions. Okay.
Are they any fun? Are they juicy?
We'll find out. It's not the kind of stuff I'm interested in, but this isn't all about me. I like to make everything all about me, but it's not always about me.
It's okay. I do the same thing.
Okay, we'll share ourselves a little bit right now. Okay, first question is, do you have any advice for the creative writing process?
As in starting a new book, or
Hmm.
or
You know what? I'll go ahead and ask that because that might be one of the hardest parts of writing is the beginning of it.
and this is the same advice that I give all the others that I help teach. I'm not just a guide for only Heather. I guide others as well. My advice to you is to just begin the story wherever you feel it needs to start. It doesn't have to start at the beginning. You can be writing the final chapter, and that's the idea. You have this certain scene stuck in your head, or perhaps there's a character you have in mind and you know exactly how this personality is going to be. Write it out. Just start writing. And it doesn't have to, some people think they have to write in order, 1, 2, 3. But you don't have to do that. You can start in the middle of your book. You can start at the end of your book. Anywhere, really. And
That's a good idea, just to get that flowing, huh?
yes, because then everything else will follow suit. Everything else will flow much easier. It'll feel less like a task. You feel more excited to start it because when you have inspiration, it doesn't feel like work when you're doing it. When you sit down, you're like, oh, I have to finish this chapter. You shouldn't
Right.
have to think like that when working with art. Writing a book is a form of art. It may not be a painting, but it is a
I agree. It's art. It's from
literature
your
is
heart.
art.
It's creativity. Yeah, yeah. And then, also what you're saying makes sense to me. My thought was that you have this thought, whatever it is, beginning, middle, of the end, but it's your thought and it's there. There's no more rooms for other thoughts. But when you put that down, then you have more room for the next one and the next one and the next one. So get something out. Get it going.
That's my advice. And then after that, some people think they need to write outlines. Say you're writing a story. But outlines don't really work. I've never agreed with outlines because that means you're trying to confine yourself and you're trying to confine your inspiration, and you should just let the book flow wherever it needs to go.
I like that. I like that idea because I don't even know where the rest of my story is going yet. I couldn't make an outline if I tried. Okay, there's more to that question, which really, it's not really more to that question. It's just the same person. And this person wants to know about your perspective on our present world and what you think about our society and culture.
In America or Earth?
Let's do I'm going to say Western culture.
Okay.
How's that?
I've never particularly agreed with Western culture, even when I was alive and it was barely just beginning to emerge. I was alive during the American Revolution, and I died shortly after, right when they had just won. But I'm going to talk more about government. I never agreed with democracy. I don't think it works. Not with how humans think. You can't ever have a full democracy because people wouldn't like it. People don't like things that are firm but fair. They like things to fit to their belief systems. And democracy doesn't fit to any belief system. And there's no true democracy out there these days. There's absolutely none. Even America's not a true democracy. It's more of a partial democracy. Because, honestly, I don't think humans can handle it's a different line of thinking. They're not, I don't want to say mature enough, but they're just not there yet in regards to fully understanding what encompasses a democracy. And that's the biggest thing that I disagree with in Western culture. Another thing I disagree with is how, when it comes to sex, it's so unhealthy. The way you view sex, for instance, you see breasts as a sexual item, as some type of image of just sexual desire. Yet when a woman actually uses her breasts for what it's intended for, you're disgusted by it. You think
People flip out. What is that?
I think that's
Milk containers.
you know, not everybody, I'm not saying everyone. I'm just saying in general,
Right.
people have perversed the entire intention of what breasts are. And it's
fucked up. How's that?
there we go. That's the word.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And, Heather and I are trying to help with sex attitudes. We're sex superheroes. I don't know if you know that. I am anyway. I can't speak for her.
If I didn't, I know now. I mean, it makes sense.
It makes sense. Okay. Oh, I'm going back to writing now. Do you have any advice on writer's block?
I do not. I hated it when I got writer's block. I would often find a hobby to step away from your work. Don't try and force it.
Okay.
And I would take walks. I would drink lots of wine.
That's the solution.
You get drunk. No, I don't want to tell people to get drunk.
I will.
And I would work on something else. Even if it's not something serious, I would just write funny little quims, little poems that I would never let anyone else see. I'd quickly throw them in the trash or burn them. But just work on something else because it's more of like a dry spell. You're dried out on this one idea. The towel's wet and you rinsed out all the water you could. Don't try and rinse more. Wait for it to fill up with water again. Okay,
that's a good visual. I started a book like 2 years ago and I haven't touched it in a year. Ugh, bad. Do you have I know. Do you have works? How many might you have that never came to fruition? How many unfinished projects did you leave behind?
Let's see.
It's got to count. Uh-oh.
Well, I didn't keep count while I was alive. And this is the same for every writer. A lot of writers have ideas in their heads that they never even wrote down, or they had some that they started, but they just quickly forgot about it or just lost it. And then I don't imagine any writer keeps track of those things.
Okay. And you just don't care anymore? Do you just focus on what you've done?
Yes, focus on what you've done.
Okay. All right. What is your enlightened and sassy advice to people who fear the transition called death? Because you had such a great death, post-death anyway.
I was always afraid of death when I was alive. And
were you?
Yes. I constantly thought I was going to die every day. And the smallest little, I hurt my knee or it's aching, it quickly turns into I'm dying. And
Heather and I joked that you needed WebMD. Diagnose everything for you. You know what WebMD is?
Yeah.
You needed it.
I can tap into that information. I was always afraid of death because when I was born, I was very weak. I had a lot of illnesses. A lot of people didn't think I would make it. And, for that time, it was highly likely. And we didn't have a lot of good medical advancements.
Right.
So some of our solutions was to drink a glass of wine. And you would feel better. Not water, wine.
Right.
So you can imagine how just uneducated.
Have another drink. Have a...
Die drunk. Leech. If anything, you're just going to die drunk.
Right.
It's a good way to go.
There you go.
And so I was always concerned for my death. So some advice that I have for others is to quite simply let go. And I know that's hard to fully grasp because you feel that you can't or it's impossible, or you feel that, I let go, but then the next day you feel you haven't. It's hard, but one thing you can do, especially if you're like me and you're always concerned about your health, is to slowly pull back from that. Slowly stop yourself from looking it up on your WebMD. If you're going to, recognize it when it's happening and stop yourself, because it's a form of addiction. And thinking, constantly being fearful of something is kind of like an addiction. Recognize that and recognize that thought process that goes into it. You have to be very self-aware in order to do this. Just be open to how you're thinking. So when, say, you're afraid of heights, or not fear of heights, but or just let's just talk about death then, since that's the question.
Good idea.
If if you're afraid of the death, be self-aware of how that starts, how that line of thinking starts. Say somebody brings it up, say somebody's loved one passed away, and then you start thinking, oh, one day I'll pass away. And then that fear happens. That fear comes in. Recognize where it comes from. Try and ask yourself, why do I fear the death? Is it because of the fear of the unknown?
Right.
And start looking for answers, because they are out there. And if you recognize, and if you study enough, and this is what I noticed when I was alive, is that there's similarities in every culture concerning death. And in every religion, there's always one similarity, one or two similarities that they all have. And the same, and it's always the same. You go somewhere filled with love.
Yeah.
So
yeah, there's no need to fear. I kind of look forward to it, I got to tell you.
I didn't, but I mean, now I do. But it's not knowing what's out there beyond that, and focusing on it's just love. You're just going to go back to love.
Yes. And I want to put my 2 cents in, which is, don't forget the law of attraction and the manifesting what you think you attract. And I got a question for you.
Yes.
Can I already say, because I'm not scared to die. There's going to be a huge party for me over there. But I am scared to feel. You're planning? You on the committee? Thank you. I think I'll be I'll be the second M6 there probably. That's so funny. Okay, so I was wondering if I can set intentions now, because I'm afraid to feel pain. I want to go quick. I don't care what I die from. Okay.
You will. If that's what you want, then you will. I think a lot of people's fear comes from the pain of the death.
Yeah.
I chose to be there during my death, to be fully aware. That's something I'll never do again.
Why? Because you were afraid to let go, or?
Yes, I was afraid. Okay. Because I was afraid of death, I was also afraid to live as well. So when I was dying, I was very fearful, and I clung on to the body.
Wow.
For as long as I could. It was done. It was gone. And I fought to make it work.
And then it still kept on going afterwards. That body was not going to rest.
Even when I was long gone from the body and no longer worked, I still pranced around. Well, people pranced me around.
Right, and I got to encourage people to go back. If you haven't seen the other Voltaire video, you've got to see it. It's so fun. I don't know if we did 1 or 2. But we at least did 1, and it's hilarious. You've got to go see it, and there's some good twists in there that I want to address here. Okay. I think that's it for that death question. Was there more? Do you have more? Okay. Okay, and what would you advise? Oh, never mind. Well, no, I'm going to go ahead and continue. What would you say to people who are disturbed about their government? What would you do?
When I was disturbed, I wrote. And you find your weapon of choice. And I don't want to make that sound violent. Your weapon of choice can be a pen and a pencil, pen and paper. That was my weapon of choice. Another weapon of choice could be your voice. It could be how you choose to protest. I mean, all of it's your form of protest. Find a way to voice your opinion in a peaceful way, but in an effective way. And that's one way that you can deal with your disturbed government, because a lot of people, when they're disturbed by their government, they oftentimes do nothing about it. And then that builds up a lot of anger and resentment. And it's mostly towards yourself, because you feel as though you're not doing enough, because deep down you're quite literally doing nothing. And, most people live in America, so call your representatives, or call your leaders that are in charge. Voice your opinion. Write letters, get people involved, get your friends involved, family, spread awareness. That's one
I'm
way you
gonna,
can do things.
I'm gonna put you on the spot, but feel free to not answer. I'm so not political, so I'm just gonna try to,
That's fine if you're not political. That's fine. You don't have to be
well,
political to have opinions and be disturbed by your government.
well, this question is not necessarily for me. Well, I don't know. I'm curious then. But what do you think of Donald Trump? What do you think of our president right now? Do you have an opinion? You could give like a spiritual opinion and then a human opinion
well,
because
because
they're not the
I'm
same.
no longer in a body. My spiritual opinion is he's here to serve a purpose,
Yeah.
as we all are, and he's here to play a role, and not a lot of people are going to like his role.
Mm-hmm.
So, having said that, he's not a bad person. Deep down, his soul is not who he is, and a lot of people lose sight of that. It's not who he
I
truly
think
is.
so. I think he sabotages himself with
It
his
oftentimes
nonsense,
it oftentimes takes the bravest soul to dense them down enough to be a Trump.
Yes, that's so true. That is a really good point.
If anything, he is one of the most loving and the most
Oh,
accepting and the most knowledgeable spirits, souls out there. Because he's willing
wow.
to do this for the rest of us.
You are right. Thank you for reminding us again. We hear this all the time in the spiritual world, but we're humans too, so we hear a lot of human complaints too.
Right, and it's hard, and don't beat yourself up over it. Just whenever you're reminded, just reflect on it and realize that this is what it is. But at the same time, you're here to be human, so don't beat yourselves up for being that.
Yeah, let me talk about that a little bit because I'm really on a personal journey of trying to understand judgment because I know one of the things we're as spiritual people we're supposed to learn to not have judgment.
No, that's not. I mean, it can happen. That's where humans are headed, and I want you to be aware of it. This is just my opinion. I'm not speaking for everybody. I am
Yes, okay.
spirit. I still have my own opinions. My opinion is that just make yourself aware of it when it's happening. But don't beat yourself up if you aren't reflecting on your judgment from from things you've done in the past.
Okay.
Don't beat yourselves up. Stay in the present. When you catch yourself, stop yourself immediately.
Yeah, because I feel like as humans, we are almost programmed to judge. We have, but
yes.
But if you realize what you're doing and kind of process a little bit and then put it into perspective, you use your spiritual knowledge and understand, like Trump, that there is a reason and there might be, a shiny side to the whole situation. Then that is almost like a positive way to judge because then you work through it and that judgment dissolves. I don't know. That's my take.
I like that take.
Thank you. Okay. I'm going to read this whole paragraph and then I'm going to try to break it down into a question.
Okay.
Okay. This is some weirdy stuff. Are you in touch with the Draconians, and are they the same as the Anunnakis? I heard although some ETs reside on Earth and are roaming around, and some are invaders, yet the only ones permitted to enter and stay for a long time, for some reasons, are the ones from Sirius. I'm going to stop right there. Let's go back to the original question. Are you in touch with the Draconians, and are they the same as the Anunnakis?
No, I'm not in touch with them, and no, they are not.
Okay. That big old long paragraph. That was the question. Okay, so do you have any information on...
Most people don't understand was when I was alive, I was quite in touch with extraterrestrials, and I had a lot of involvement in that spectrum. And that, if I were alive today, I'd probably take part in Stardust.
Would you come to the Stardust event in Nevada with that? Are you going to come anyway?
Yes, of course.
Okay,
Wherever Heather goes, I go.
Oh, because I was going to give you a free ticket.
Free for me.
Oh, yay, come. Oh, that's so cool. Okay, so everybody, Voltaire is going to be there too. Okay, so let's talk about your ET connections. Tell me about that.
I was very interested in physics in general. A lot of people don't know that about me, but I studied physics. I wrote a couple of essays on it, even entered a competition on the matter. I lost, but, I tried. And
good boy.
and I used to perform experiments, and I was very interested in what, at the time, Sir Isaac Newton was all the rage. So that was what we're mainly focusing on, was his theories and his knowledge. I made contact with extraterrestrials in my dreams, and I would just throw them off as dreams. Now that I'm here and I've crossed over, I know better. I knew they weren't just dreams.
Tell me.
Part of me just knew they weren't, but I couldn't openly accept that. But some of my dreams, I made contact with one species in particular that helped me write my science fiction book. And I'm quite proud of myself because I helped launch that genre. Not a lot of people know that. But
Oh, did you? Good for you. What's the name of that book?
Micromegas.
Okay. Micromegas.
That's how most people pronounce it. So that's how you'll best recognize it.
Thanks. You know me and my pronunciations, they're not always right on.
And my dream and my contact with the Saturnians, which are really just the Andromedans from the other galaxy, our neighbors.
Okay.
That was
What
them.
did you call them? They were the what?
Saturnians.
Okay, spell that.
It's spelled like Saturn, and then you add
Okay, sorry.
S at the end. And my contact with them was what inspired my book. And also, I was quite upset with the state things were as humans, and I wanted humans to be able to recognize their own irony by, an extraterrestrial coming to Earth, a couple of them coming to Earth and studying us and seeing how ridiculous we are and how we do things and how they don't make sense. And my contact with them it started when I was in my early 20s, and it lasted all the way until my death.
Wow. Wow, and they're all dream contacts as far as you know? Well, you know everything now.
Some of them were physical contacts, but it was more, not really physical, but they would show up when I was awake, and I wouldn't see them. They're just from another dimension entirely, but I would oftentimes feel a presence in the room, and I thought it was a spirit. I thought ghosts and things like that first. But they would offer me assistance. I had no idea of that. Everyone has, your spirit guides.
Uh-huh.
And I had my own, and my own were mostly extraterrestrial beings.
Interesting. And now that you're home, what was that homecoming like when you met them? Are you friends with them? Do you visit them now? Or what's that like?
I see them. There's some that were my family in other lifetimes, and I spend time with them. One of them, some of them were time traveling, and they would come see me because we would know each other soon. And that's quite interesting, and I know you wanted to talk about this. One of them was with Heather.
Yes.
And she showed up as a Sar being to me. At the time, I couldn't tell the difference between any of them, but she showed up, and I was much older. I was in my 50s, 60s, and I was in my room laying down, and I was asleep, but it felt as though I was awake. And she showed up, and she's quite beautiful. And she showed up, and she touched my face, and she was smiling. And she was telling me, you're going to mean so much to me, and I will mean so much to you. And she was telling me just how much she loved me and to keep going. At the time, I was going through a really rough time. I was going through a bit of, it's hard. It was after Emily died, and I was very upset. And even though it had been years since she'd passed, I would still get through my grief. I would go through grief spells.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. And I was so attached to her, and Heather showed up when I needed her most. And that helped pull me out of it. Even though it was just a dream, I thought she was an angel. Trying to tell me that, I'll be okay.
And why did she come to you? Was that the first contact she had with you, or did you have other
We've had
meetings?
others, and
Tell me some.
Time's not linear, so it's quite different. And one of my favorite contacts ever with Heather, at the time I didn't know it was Heather. I had no idea who it was. I was in my early 20s, and I was living in a type of a hostel. I was sharing a room with others, and we all shared a community bathroom, and it was a woman who owned the home. I was quite poor, and I couldn't get any money from my father. He wasn't supporting me at all because he didn't agree with me writing for a living. And I was crying because I was sad and I was stressed. It's stressful to not have money, to not know where your food's going to come from, and feeling as though you're rejected by not just your family but society itself. And I wasn't getting anywhere with my writing, and I was just miserable. And she showed up and hugged me and gave me all kinds of love. And and it helped me get up, get out of the room, and go socialize with others. In fact, I made a very important connection that night after going out downstairs, because there was always a party happening. And I went downstairs and I met a very important connection that I needed to make in that life.
Will you give us a hint of where and when that life was?
Oh, it was my life as Voltaire. It was in France.
Oh, really? Heather was there too. I get so feely. I'm sorry, but I was so touched by such a small act of her just coming and hugging you. It made such an impression on you. So don't forget that, everybody, how much a little kindness can change a person.
I'm not a man of religion either at the time. Even though I grew up and was raised Catholic, I just couldn't agree with any of the Catholic beliefs. I believed it was an angel. I was actually praying and asking for help for once, and I never done that before.
See what happens when you start praying?
It's no different than meditating. It's just a different word for the same thing.
Yeah, I agree. It's like some people bless their food. I zap it with a little juju. Okay, well, I want to talk about some aliens some more, because this is the Stardust channel after all. Okay, so one of them was the Saturnians. I don't know if I'm saying it right. The Andromeda people.
It's however you perceive it to be called.
Okay, and then you have the Sarsars too. Who else did you connect with?
I connect with they were blue-skinned, and I'm trying to recall the name of them. I don't think even humans have a name for them yet.
Oh.
But they look human, and it's a light blue. It's more of like a hue. It's kind of a blue color floats off of their skin rather than their actual skin color being blue. It's like they have a light around them that's a blue.
Wow. All right, well, what do you do with, tell me about them. You mean in that lifetime you had connections with them too?
Mm-hmm. They would stand just in the corner of my room. I would just have dreams of me sleeping, and I could see them standing there watching me. There were always 4 of them.
So, you're pretty progressive then to be writing this sci-fi book. What did people think about you? That you were completely nuts? Did they have... Yeah, what happened? Did you get a lot of flack for that? Or
I did. People never really heard of science fiction before. And, there were other almost science fiction type books, but the genre didn't really launch itself. And I don't want to take full credit for it. There were others around the same time, but we all... during the Enlightenment, there was a lot of growth for humanity in general. That was another growth spurt, you could call it, for humans.
Okay.
Awakening. And I was quite proud of myself for that.
What was the consensus? What was the attitude about extraterrestrial life then? Because I know, the beliefs ebb and flow.
Actually, that book wasn't very popular at all. And I wouldn't be surprised if nobody heard of it. And... even now, most people don't even know that I wrote a sci-fi book.
Would it be, if I read it now, would it feel dated to me, or would it feel...
No, it'd be extremely outdated. You would probably laugh.
Okay.
At some of the things I said. Even I laugh at myself now when I think about it. You weren't even close.
Aw. That's funny. That's so interesting, though, is that we truly don't have a concept of like the future and technology. We just can't because, there's like, people are joking around right now about how 20 or 30 years ago when I was in elementary school, the teachers would say, it's not like you're going to walk around with a calculator in your pocket. Now we walk around with a whole computer in our pocket, and you just cannot conceive of what's coming next.
I think that's quite funny.
Isn't that funny?
Story. Oh, I just proved you wrong. Look what I have.
I know. I know. I can do more than count, teacher. All right, let me ask you then, since you've had all these connecting lives with Heather, I just feel so close to you. Do we have other lives too?
Yes.
Tell me one.
We've been husband and wife before, and don't tell Heather that.
I will not tell her, but tell me all about it.
I was a very timid young man, and I'm mostly a woman most lifetimes.
Okay.
And whenever I am a man, I'm very sensitive, very timid. And you were very boisterous, both in body and spirit.
Great.
Very loud, you took control over things. I would handle finances, but you would tell me how much money to give you.
Oh my God, I was so bossy.
You were, but I needed that. I needed someone like that, or else I wouldn't have gotten anywhere in life. You helped progress me further in my career. You made me take chances, whereas I wouldn't have. You kind of forced me, and in a way, it's quite special because you would yell at me, and you'd say, go out there and go do that. Don't be such a pussy about it, and push me out the door. And don't come home until you do it.
I am mad at myself. I am not that kind of person. Shame on me. I'm sorry.
Needed to be that kind of person, though. Especially for me.
So did we like each other, though? I sound horrible.
No, I loved you. I loved that part about you. It was kind of kinky. I liked a bossy woman. I found it arousing.
You found the silver lining in that. Great.
And actually, that lifetime where you were bossing me around actually prepared me for my life as Voltaire to take more chances in my life, or else I wouldn't have done as much writing and put myself out there as much as a writer.
That's interesting because I think that we forget sometimes that each life, even though I know there's not like a chronology, but still it seems like the things we learn prepare us for the next one.
Yes.
Instead of just, I mean, it's not just that the spirit is learning lessons. It keeps those lessons and then applies them. That's cool. Well, in that case, you're welcome. Oh.
It's because I'm sitting with the actual good posture and she doesn't. So now that I am, her back hurts.
At least you don't have the bra on. That thing's uncomfortable.
She's sweating and I want to take off the sweatshirt, but I'm not sure how you do it and I don't want to take off her shirt.
Oh, right. You will totally flash. You got your doodleberries in too, so if you want to, you'll have to take them out. If you really want to, go stand on the side or something.
No, I'm fine.
Okay. Okay, so let's see. I want to wrap this up soon. I always go too long. Huh. Okay, wait. When were we? When was that time?
We're around. You were a baker's wife. You baked. You weren't. You know, I didn't own the bakery. You were around 1400s.
Okay.
Somewhere around there.
Europe. I guess Europe. Interesting.
Yeah, in Europe, but more towards Scotland area.
Okay, I did remember a question I wanted to ask you. I wondered if you were mad at me because apparently I was a traitor in the war, and I left the French and went to the other side just because I wanted to be on the winning team. And I wonder if I'm in trouble with you for being a defector. I
don't care how you did that. I was not happy with France anyway.
Okay. I was worried, I didn't know
I don't hold you against things you've done in other lives.
Just kidding. I really wasn't worried. But I want to tell people that I've been having this mystery for a good year and a half because I was told that I fought on both sides of the war. And I didn't know if I was on one team and switched over or if I was two different people.
Perhaps they were referencing something else. Maybe you jumped teams in terms of lovers.
Oh.
Maybe you like men after you liked women.
Well, that happened too, but that was in the Boer Wars.
My bad. Wrong war.
Wrong. I don't know. I may have done it in the French War too. I don't
You
know.
never
I
know with
think
the
I'm.
French.
That's right, and you never know with Carrie's energy. She's out there. Okay, Voltaire. Do you have anything else that you want to share with us? I love talking to you. Do you have anything you want to share with us?
No, I was hoping for more gossip.
Okay, let's gossip some more. I don't even know what to gossip about. Do you have some?
I want some secrets I can spill for you.
Yes, I need some.
I'm trying to see if I'll get in too much trouble. I can't get in trouble, but you know what I mean.
Well, I'll ask a question. How are you and Eric getting along these days?
We're fine. We
Okay.
have a truce.
Okay.
No more coming around. Just stay out of my way.
Stay out of his way, Eric.
I'm not serious. I love him. He's fun to be
You
around.
can't not love Eric. He's just a shit, but he's so fun. He really is. Okay,
Let's see.
gossip.
Some things that I'll tell some future things. However, they're not written in stone. Some things, first off, with the overall humanity,
Okay.
is that soon humans will evolve in a way that they will no longer need money, and it's actually quite soon. And I'm very excited about it because now people can stop focusing on, if they're going to be able to purchase food or pay for their home. Humans are going to become more united. When money starts to dissipate and become less powerful, and less, so much part of our lives, become more of a community. We start becoming more one with each other.
Like the Sarsar.
Yes.
Sarsar.
We'll live in, some people are not going to like this, but the setup will be much like a socialist kind of setup. At first, it's going to be separate countries, but soon it's not soon, but this will take a while, but there won't be countries anymore. We'll just be one planet, where some of us live across the ocean and some of us, live on one side. And
Will it be kind of like America is, in that we're all America, but we have our separate states with our own little mini cultures?
No,
will we still
we're
be
all one. All one.
Wow. Okay.
Eventually that will happen. And that way, soon when money starts to dissipate, so I'll focus more on what's coming up, what's forming now versus way into the future.
Okay. And wait, when you mean soon, do you mean in like 300 years or a month? I'm just kidding, but really.
Yeah, maybe a few hundred.
Okay.
These things take time. And it's actually happening, the pace is picking up, so it could totally change from completely. And the focus will be more on services rather than products being sold, because people will become less materialistic. And the services offered will be more towards people's passions. People are going to be much more creative. The only jobs that will be left, as much jobs as there are, there's no money, hardly any money, is going to be more creative. So people can focus on their passions.
Oh, that sounds so nice.
Because humans are naturally creative. That's how you are, whether you may not think you are, but something as little as, creating
dinner,
creating a key, that's creative. Gardening is creative. Liking to play music, that's creative. Humans are just creative creatures. And we will become more in tune to that part of us.
Can you tell me, one of the questions that I left it out, I didn't really leave it out, but I want to tie it into the future and what you can tell us about how our kids are being taught. And the question was, what kind of life lessons should humanity teach children? And you can go with life lessons, or you can go with just what education looks like in our future. Because I'm so done
I
with putting the kids in the box.
I had trouble with that when I was as well. My problem is that children are taught from a young age that you must hide your emotions, especially young boys.
Yes.
And they're also taught that life is unfair. They're taught that, one's going to be weakest, one will be strongest. Everything starts when you're younger. And if we start with children and start teaching them about love and acceptance and how everyone is equal, as much as you may disagree with that, it doesn't matter what your beliefs are, that we need to start teaching them that life can be fair if only you choose to let it be fair. It's only unfair because somebody else doesn't believe it can be fair. Therefore, they're not going to treat you fairly.
Okay.
And that's what creates the unfair world, is us. The world can change. We don't have to live the way that we are. And people don't realize the power that they have, and it starts with the children. Until you start teaching the children this, it's never going to change.
Okay.
I suggest homeschooling.
Ooh, that's a tricky one. I'm a teacher, and I still don't feel like I have the discipline for that.
Or find a friend who will homeschool. Have a small community. Create a commune. Just live on a commune somewhere.
Just do that socialist shit now.
Just, get a group together, get some land, and live there.
There you go.
And then it'll get bigger and bigger, and pretty soon it'll be its own country.
There you go. There'll be its own world. It's going to be one. So I'm going to go back, and when you said the world is fair, or when people, you're taught that life's not fair, is that a manifestation or a perception or
it's both? It's both. Your perception manifested that.
Okay.
And also the manifestation of it is through action. People treat each other unfairly because they lack love, self-love. That's the biggest problem. I could go on and say it's about this, it's about that, it's about their anger. No, it all boils down to lack of self-love. Every single thing boils down to that.
Well, Voltaire, I wonder if you are a person that is growing your self-love, but you are with somebody that's not quite there yet. What would you advise to the people that are making their way and just feel like they're getting beat down by the other?
I was in a situation like that when I was alive, and I stayed when I shouldn't have stayed. I should have left. You should know your limits, know your boundaries, is my advice. You can sit and wait for them, but if it's seeming as though they're not making any progress and it gets worse and you're just very unhappy, you need to go. You need to leave. You cannot succumb yourself to negative energy like that and bring yourself down in order to help someone else. Sometimes you need to fill up your cup first before you can help anyone else, and sometimes the relationship isn't worth it, and you need to take a break. And there's no such thing. I think the problem with this here is that there's that illusion of separation. And so say you're married to somebody who's like that, you feel as though the divorce is a separation. It's not. It's really not. And you can come back together again when the time is right. But right now, it's best for both of you, because if anything, if you stay with the person and they lack the self-love, it can ruin the relationship to the point that it will never be reprimanded again and can never get back together. So you need to take time apart. However way you need to do that. Maybe you don't need to get a divorce. Maybe you don't need to break off the friendship or break ties. Maybe it's just take a break from one another. Give each other more space.
Yeah, I think you're right about that, because I'm on my own path of that. And I know a lot of people are dealing with the same thing, and that one person in the relationship has this big spiritual awakening or pulling or whatever, and the other one doesn't. And my husband, he's got enough spirituality where he knows where I'm coming from in a way, but it's so unbalanced. And I did exactly what you're saying. I had this time of separation. I have a really big house that worked out, but divorce wasn't my answer. But you're right. We had to separate, and now we're finding our way back together. It's not going to be what it was, but it's okay. because that I'm not lamenting that it's not going to be what it was. I'm looking forward to the change it's going to be. We're going to grow something better.
Right. And also very important, know your boundaries. If any relationship can easily turn abusive. If it starts turning that way, recognize the signs and go the other direction.
Yeah, it is hard especially when you don't have a frame of reference and you don't even know something is abusive, or just accept it as the norm.
So many people don't know. I've been in abusive relationships, even as Voltaire. Emily was quite abusive towards me, verbally abusive.
Yeah.
And I didn't recognize the signs. And at the time, I was a man. I thought, a woman can't be abusive.
Right.
But she can. Women can just as much as men can.
And because you were a man, even though you were a sensitive guy, you couldn't, I don't know.
All right. People are already questioning
about it.
People are already questioning my sexuality, even though I was, in a way, kind of, I like to explore. I didn't explore physically, but emotionally, I explored with the prospect of men. I just didn't want people to know about that. I was very embarrassed, in a way. It was, even though in France at the time, they were very open-minded about homosexuality, but not so open-minded that you can be...
Right, you can have a boyfriend and walk down the street and make out.
Yes, precisely like that.
Let's gossip about that a little bit. What does the future hold for, say, gay people? Is there more? I mean, do we because I think my personal opinion is that we might all have these, curiosities.
Nobody's gay or straight.
Okay.
Everybody's just who they are. You can say maybe a certain percentage or a certain, one sways more that way than the other, but mostly everybody, it's love. You're in love with the soul. Deep down, you're not attached to your body. You fall in love with the soul, not the body.
It happens to me, man. Fall in love with that soul. I love you.
I love you.
Okay, any other gossip of the future?
No, that's it. That's all I've got. That's all I'm willing to say at this time.
Okay, find another nugget for us for the next time, though.
I think that was enough for people to get excited. I think it's fun to live in a world of creativity and inspiration.
Yeah, that was real nice. Okay, well, let me address that a tiny bit more, because the SARS say that because they lack the motivation, or not, I don't know if I'm going to say it right, but because there is no money behind it, he says that there's not as much Sam says there's not as much creativity going on because the motivation isn't there.
No, I don't think it's that. They're not as creative in general.
Oh, okay. Okay.
From what I understand, from what I know, I could, tap into the information, but from what I know, it's just they're not creative at all.
Will you talk about some of the similarities and differences between humans and Sarsar a little bit? Do you have that perspective?
Yeah, I can. I can dive into it. Probably not to the full extent as, say, Sir Sam. I call him Sir Sam.
Sir Sam. Oh, that's cute.
Sir Sam the Soldier. That's a better alliteration. Sir Sam
I like
the
alliteration.
I don't know where to start other than what differences. I know there's the physical differences, or
I don't know either. I really don't know what to ask because I don't know what is similar and different.
Let me pick one. Let me think.
Okay.
There's differences in how they choose to live within their cultures or societies. They don't have different cultures like humans do.
Okay.
They have one culture. And humans tend to rely mostly on their close clique groups.
Uh-huh.
And that creates, that mind of my team against your team and us versus them. And
right.
Not saying it's a bad thing. It's how humans are right now. It's where they need to be. And it has done a lot of good work for us as a whole during this time. But we're slowly outgrowing it. The Sarsar don't have that. They don't have any cliques at all. Everybody is everyone are friends. It's quite different than most. I like it.
And
I like communities like that. I prefer.
I was gonna ask this question to them, but I'll ask you. Is that do you know if they're like telepathically connected to all of the star around the universe, or just here? That's a lot of
No,
people connecting to.
no. It's just within a close. You would
Okay.
have to be in a close enough range.
Okay. Interesting. That would be too much if you just knew every single
That's a
being's
lot.
thoughts.
That's a lot of people to keep track of.
I know. Man, it'd just be like white noise in the background. All right, Volty, I'm going to let you go for reals this time because I know you're hot in that rush sweatshirt.
You've lost your ability to speak, so that's my
I
cue.
have. That's your cue. All right. I'm going to talk to you later, okay, Volty? I love you. Bye.
Mm. My eyes won't open.
They're stuck closed.
I'm tired.
You always come out of it so groggy, and then you snap out of it and super perky. Stay tired for a second. That's okay.
Okay. My eyesight looks weird, though. I just feel weird in my head. I feel like I dropped down from up here. So I feel
Really?
like a head rush, almost.
Uh-huh. Oh, you look like it. You look like you either just woke up or you're high or something. That was nice. It was really nice. He gave us a little nugget about the future and some other life stuff. And oh, Heather, I'm not going to tell you how sweet you were to him when he was Voltaire, a young man.
Young man.
Got to watch it.
I love it. I love him. He's showing up today. He showed up today very young.
Did he?
In his early 30s.
Uh-huh.
And his powdered wig. He was wearing a powdered wig and makeup, all dressed up, super nice.
Oh. See, he and I got fancy. You just put on an old sweatshirt.
Yeah, no, he dressed up for the occasion, wearing his nice little shoe with the gold buckle on it, and
oh my,
and his little frillies, as he calls them. He likes to call them his little frillies. And I like to read his letters from when he was alive, and he was so cute. He would say, "And I need more little frillies. Can you go to the store and buy more frillies? My little frillies." I loved it. I'm like, oh, so cute.
He is adorable, and you are adorable for the way you love him. Guys are just so cute. Look at that face, you guys. Look at how much she adores him.
I freaking love him. He's so just.
I love him too. He's so sweet. All right, I'm going to wrap this up. We've been going for over an hour. We always way overdo our time because I just don't ever want to let our people go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead. You two can go do whatever you're going to do. I'm going to wrap this up. Pretend like I'm on my other show. Let's see. Do we have websites and shit? I don't know.
Yeah,
anyway.
We do have a website.
We have our Stardust website.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also got a YouTube channel. We've got a handful of videos now.
Yeah, and
Woohoo!
So I'll put in if for those that are interested in the event, want to know more details and stuff. We actually figured out. Yeah, wait, we talked about that. I'm sorry. I'm everywhere in my head. We talked about where the house is, right? We found out where the house is.
In the middle of nowhere, yes.
It feels like that was a long time ago. Okay, so yeah, I'll put the link to the website. And sorry, I usually don't talk so much when I come back, and I can't.
I know, don't talk about it now. We talked about it before, and every time we do a video, we'll talk about it a little bit more. We're gonna fill this house up and the whole outside too. We're gonna have tents, and then the ships are gonna come, and it's gonna be a big, huge party.
Well, I don't want to make any promises on ships, because then people will be like, "Oh, I didn't get to see a ship."
There's no promises. You're right. We're not promising it, but we are manifesting it. Everybody's going to get on board with our manifesting. All right.
It's going to be one big manifest party.
All right, Heather, I love you. Go relax and go love on Volty a little bit, and I'll talk to you later, all right?
All right.
Goodbye, you two.
Bye.
Click.